Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, general discussion about yesterday's match, players, all things Manchester United news show. We'll be discussing all the latest topics on Mason Greenwood's return, Mainoo for England, some players United looking at ahead of the January transfer window, Ten Hag to get brutal, Ten Hag maybe making comments that could almost be seen as a dig at Casemiro, the praise of Mainoo, and more. And I do want to apologise for being slightly late to today's live stream, but there was something I was working on last month, which was called the Copper Club. And that went live today, and I was just looking through my DMs because I had a really busy day, and I'd just been sent the tweet from Nathan that the Copper Club issue 3 had just gone live. It's 88 pages about South American football content. It's got lots of people writing in it, from people from The Athletic, Bruges technical director, and more. And I wrote a piece about sort of South American midfielders that United have been linked to. So I was just making sure I got the quote tweet out for that. And I will remind you guys at the end to potentially give it a check out. So I do apologise for being a little bit late to the live stream there, but very important to get that information out there. So what are we going to be discussing in today's show? Well, there's quite a few things to discuss, to be honest. I didn't do a 5 things we learned from Everton, from Man United 3-0 Everton. So maybe we'll discuss that at the end of the video. I haven't actually thought the 5 things, but we will have a bit of a recap for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to get up the recap, the content for today's show. So in today's show, we're going to be discussing the following topics: a recap from the 3-0 win, Ten Hag to take action and play youth over underperformers, United still open to Greenwood return, Mainoo praise and England cap transfers, and takeover. So I want to quickly have a quick little chat. I want to quickly have a chat about Manchester United and about the Everton game. And I think where we're at, really, because with 5 wins in our last 6, we're 2 points off Spurs, 6 points off the top. And when you consider VAR, when you consider injuries, it's, where we are in the league is pretty good. It's pretty mad. We've had some difficult games as well, but we've got Newcastle, we've got Liverpool, we've got West Ham coming up next. Some very, very difficult Premier League games, which if we can get 6 out of 9 points from those 3 games, I'll be absolutely astounded. If we can even get a point at Anfield, that's like taking 10 points because, 7-0, 4-0, it's just Anfield is not the ground to go to for us. I think our goal difference at Anfield is like 3 goals scored and 30 conceded or something stupid as well. But I actually think, you know what, we're in a semi-decent position with 6 points off Arsenal, who I don't think Arsenal have looked that much better than us. With 6 points off Arsenal, our goal difference just shows that how much worse we are than probably everyone else. But considering the praise that Tottenham have been getting, only 2 points behind them, considering how good Liverpool have been, only 4 points behind them, 4 points off third, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. And I feel like we're going to drop points to Newcastle. I feel like we're going to drop points to Liverpool and West Ham, and we're going to slide back down the table. Because if I'm going to be honest, I don't think our results justify being this close to the top. But then when I say, look, we've had worse injuries than anyone else, we've had basically VAR against us all season. The mad thing is we could be on like 30 points right now if it wasn't for silly VAR calls. Which is crazy because we do not deserve to be top of the league, and I'm not saying that. But I generally think that United are in quite a good position as well. Ten Hag should do what Arteta did with the youth, and that's exactly what we're going to get into as well. And Arteta was forced to play the youth because of injuries. Arteta never wanted to play the youth. Well, Mainoo's, I think Ten Hag would have played Mainoo even if it wasn't for the injuries because of Mainoo playing in pre-season. But what Ten Hag's plan is to drop some major stars and to start playing the youth as well. Mainoo is good, but unless he performs for 2-3 seasons, he won't be a best. We've had a number of players who were good in a season, but were average the next season. Januzaj, Rashford to some extent. I get that. We've got to be careful with Mainoo. And I think my biggest fear with Mainoo is more Man United than Mainoo. We're not a stable club. Will we be a stable environment for someone like Mainoo to grow and develop? Multiple different managerial changes can impact that. Potentially injuries, poor treatment of Mainoo. I think for me, my biggest fear isn't about if Mainoo's good enough for United. Can United develop Mainoo to get the best out of him? Will United run him into the ground? Will United manage his minutes well? Will we be changing managers? And there's a manager that doesn't rate Mainoo because Mainoo is a very Ajax-esque player, very, very Ten Hag-esque player. And I think that's something that United have got to massively sort of watch out for as well. And I was thinking about the Everton game, and I was having a bit of analysis on the game and stuff, and we won 3-0, but I'm still, and I don't like to be negative because you know me, I'm always as positive as I can be, but I'm still not 100% convinced. I thought the second half was brilliant, but the first half we only just made it through. If you look at the XG, we could have easily been 2-1 down after the first half. I thought we were relying on moments. If it wasn't for that Garnacho crazy bicycle kit, we did nothing in the first half. We could have gone in 2-0 down, but that's if buts and maybes, I guess. But then I look at it and say we keep getting clean sheets, 3 clean sheets in a row. And I guess if you keep getting clean sheets, you don't lose. I look at sort of the end of last season, and we were kind of grinding out 1-0 wins and getting clean sheets. And that's what got us over the line to top 4 because we had big injuries to Varane and Martinez. And although it's not the end of this season, because of the injuries we've had at the start of the season, it just feels like the end of last season where we're actually just grinding out those 1-0s and getting results. Now, I think Liverpool will be a different game. I think Newcastle will be a different game. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to grind out results in those kind of games because Everton couldn't hit a barn door. Liverpool's attack probably, I think Everton had the same XG as Liverpool did when they beat us 7-0. Liverpool's attack can get 7 past us, and Newcastle could get 3-4 past us. Newcastle scored the second most goals this season. Newcastle have had games where they've scored 3, 4, 5, and 8 goals as well. Newcastle put 5 past Villa, 4 past Chelsea, 3 past us when they last played us, 8 past Sheffield United. I think they put 4 past PSG. So we do have to be careful in that sense, but we're not conceding goals, which is good. Anana and the back line seems to, I think, get used to playing with each other. I think from the Everton game, we saw how Mainoo progressed the ball and the positives of that. But I also do look at United and I think there's a lack of balance, there's a lack of composure, there's a lack of many things. But before I get into the news and all the information that I want to dive into, I did just want to say that Andre Onana got written off after 3-4 games. He made a mistake, and the reason I never wrote Onana off after those mistakes was because how many times did De Gea make those mistakes? So many times. I remember against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, I remember against Sevilla. De Gea made loads of mistakes, and Onana made 2 mistakes very early on against Galatasaray and Bayern Munich in the Champions League into his United career, and that was the talk of the town. But Onana looked good in pre-season. Onana had a good first game of the season versus Wolves, then was iffy for a month. You could tell he lost his confidence, and then he made that penalty save versus Copenhagen, and he's been unstoppable. And you think for all the media writing Andre Onana off this and that, none of them are actually talking about how good Andre Onana has been. None of them are talking about the highest save rate, the second most saves, the 5 clean sheets, second most goals prevented. I read somewhere it was the third most, but apparently it's the second most. And all of these kind of statistics as well. I think he's becoming really, really underrated as well. And I will get into that. We need Mainoo as a 6. Well, I'm going to talk about this because there's reports that actually Ten Hag views Mainoo as a 6 and actually will maybe even start to play him more so over Casemiro. I'd like to see Mainoo and Casemiro together, but this is what we know on Kobbie Mainoo. So Ten Hag said this on Mainoo after the match. He said he was leading in our building up. He led our possession, and that is what I expect from a number 6 here. And this is something that Casemiro has not delivered on. This is something that Tomine has not delivered on. This is something that Amrabat's not delivered on. But Mainoo delivered on it yesterday. He led in build-up. He led in possession, and that's what I expect from a number 6 here. That's what the number 6 did at Ajax. Casemiro is not really that kind of player. That's what Mainoo can do, and that's what Ten Hag expects. And I'd like to see Mainoo and Casemiro in the same team. Maybe Casemiro is the one that goes further forward, weirdly, because he was our biggest goal threat before his injury. I'm not saying drop Casemiro and play Mainoo because Casemiro is a 5-time Champions League winner and Mainoo is an 18-year-old kid. But there is feelings that Ten Hag is looking at Mainoo and thinking, I'm going to, sort of move out Casemiro potentially if Mainoo hits his potential. I'd like to see both Mainoo and Casemiro play together. We didn't see that in pre-season because Mainoo got injured 2 minutes in versus Real Madrid. But it's very obvious that Ten Hag has big plans for Mainoo, and he has for a while. Back in April, he gave Mainoo his own training plan for when he recovered from injury and said, you're going to be involved in pre-season, you're going to be involved next season. And that's why Zidane was allowed to move. And Mainoo was given this big role in pre-season. He played versus Arsenal. He started versus Real Madrid. He started every pre-season game until obviously the injury. And Zidane went because there was no room for him because we were going to bring Mainoo through. And a big compliment to Kobbie Mainoo and the kind of player he is. And I hate saying that this is a compliment, but Man City were interested in signing Mainoo. Manchester City tried to see if there was a chance they could sign Mainoo. Obviously, there was no chance. But what players at Man United can we say that Man City might be interested in signing? Not many at all. Luke Shaw, I think they would take. I think they would take Kobbie Mainoo. I think they would take Bruno Fernandes and make him a better player. because we know how good he is for Portugal. I think they would take Bruno. I think they would take Luke Shaw. I think they would take Kobbie Mainoo from the United squad. And that's honestly about it. They're probably, maybe Højlund, but they've got Haaland, so I don't think they need Højlund, to be honest. Maybe Martial back in the day when he didn't have breadstick legs could have maybe done well at City, but again, not good enough. I think there's only 3 players in that Man United squad that I think Man City would even look at. And that is Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes and Kobbie Mainoo. And Kobbie Mainoo is 18 years of age. But he's one of those players that Man City made an approach for. They were interested in. Gareth Southgate's interested in him. His potential is absolutely unbelievable. He's got a banging potential as well, people. And the comments that Ten Hag made, the comments that people made of them sort of spoke, I think, volume of how good he is as well. Please do smash that like button as well. Mainoo looks a beast physically, and I think that was the biggest fear. We know he's got the technical ability, we know he's got the work rate, he's got the IQ, but has he got the physicality to play in midfield against people 10 years older than him as well? Compliment is that Mainoo looked good next to Scott. Imagine next to Case or a long-term dynamic physical midfielder, yeah. And I think United are looking at Amadou Onana, they're looking at Fofana of Monaco, they're looking for that physical midfielder. But the perfect pairing for Mainoo would be a physical midfielder that can cover a lot of ground, that could be a hybrid 6/8. And that's what United are looking at doing. And if Mainoo's fine next to Scott McTominay, who didn't give him any help in the first half, McTominay was invisible in the first half, dreadful. So was Bruno, to be fair. And he looked good. Imagine him next to someone a bit more stable, like Casemiro, absolutely spot on as well. Keep Southgate well clear of Mainoo. Yeah, I tell you what, keep him clear. But Mainoo, Rice, Bellingham, that could be special. Anyway, 61 likes, people. Let's get the likes up as well. And let's continue into the video as well. I want to see Mainoo, Cassie and Bruno in midfield, see how they perform. We United fans make a lot of noise when one of our academy players performs good, but then they fail the next season. Yeah, to an extent, but there's certain academy players that are just different. I can't explain it and have always been different. And sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. Ravel Morrison didn't. Paul Pogba, I guess you could say, did to an extent. Jesse Lingard didn't. But I think there's certain players that make it and certain players that don't. But I think Kobbie Mainoo, I think if he's lucky with injuries, lucky with guidance, we can get some stability at United and manage him right. When you've got the work rate, when you've got the maturity, when you've got the technical ability and you've got the athleticism, I feel like Kobbie Mainoo's got everything that he needs to succeed and become a very good player for United. As Diego said, he's very mature on the ball. And that's something that a lot of our players aren't. A lot of our players aren't mature on the ball. We are 1-0 up to Everton, looking like a team that is going to concede about 6 goals in about 6 minutes. And Mainoo's the only guy that can have some composure on the ball, keep calm on the ball, progress the ball, move the ball forward. So I think Mainoo's got a big, big future. And we're going to dive more into Mainoo towards the end of the video, but I do want to kind of dive into the news here as well. And this is Ten Hag to make some brutal changes. Ten Hag to start playing the youth, start giving the youth some minutes here and there. Ten Hag ready and set to make quite a few changes. Then we'll get into the Greenwood news. So this is how I sort of see I'm assuming Højlund's fit, this is who I play. Screw Anthony, Pellistri's going in. Screw Rashford, Garnacho's going in. Martial scored a goal, but Højlund in the Champions League. Bruno, I want to see Amrabat and Mainoo. I don't rate McTominay, and I've been very clear on that. Luke Shaw, I'm happy to see either Delo or Wan-Bissaka. Not too bothered. I think I would save Wan-Bissaka for the Newcastle game because I think that Anthony Gordon's having Anthony Gordon is having a phenomenal season. Phenomenal. So I think Wan-Bissaka might be better equipped to deal with Gordon and then have Varane and Maguire. I'm sorry, but Lindelof's scared of defending. Lindelof was good on the ball yesterday, but Lindelof is scared of defending. I want to see Varane in there, but I sort of looked at United and I thought, well, I want to see sort of these younger players coming in, these younger players sort of getting more minutes because I like Rashford, but he's not performing. He doesn't deserve to be playing. So I sort of looked at United and we've got Amad Diallo that's 21, but he's not quite fit. We've got Pelistri that's 21. We've got Højlund that's 20. We've got Mejbri that's 20. We've got Garnacho that's 19. Gore that's 19. Shoretire, I don't really rate that much. Well, I think he's good, but I wouldn't put him near the squad. And Mainoo that's 18. We've got some great players. Mainoo, Garnacho, Pelistri, I want to be seeing them get minutes. Højlund and Mejbri, I want to be seeing them involved. It's hard to believe that Højlund's 20. It's actually mad that like Pelistri and Diallo are older than Højlund because I always feel like Højlund's older. Maybe that's just me, but I want to be seeing these young players be getting the minutes when the first team players, some of the big name players, have been underperforming as well. Amrabat looks all out of sorts. Confidence seems shattered as well. And I think the problem with Amrabat is he's just not had the minutes. He's just not had the run of games. I have a bit of sympathy for Amrabat, to be honest, because he came in injured. He had to play out of position. And I think when you've not had the run of games, he can't build up match fitness and he looks lacking confidence. And I think it was weird that he played Mainoo over Amrabat and started Mainoo over Amrabat because Ten Hag pushed and pushed for Amrabat. He wanted Amrabat so badly, and Amrabat's been injured, played 2 games, and he's dropped Amrabat. And my big problem with Ten Hag here is I don't think Amrabat was any worse than McTominay. Maybe that's just me. All McTominay has on Amrabat is he scored goals. If you look at McTominay's performances where he hasn't scored goals, were they better than Amrabat's performances in the same position? Absolutely not. It's just that McTominay has that potential to score goals. Because if you take away McTominay's goals, he's not played any better than Amrabat when he's played. But for some reason, McTominay, who we wanted sold and he wanted to bring Amrabat in, is all of a sudden being played ahead of Amrabat as well. Also interesting news coming out here. Ahead of the Liverpool game. But Alisson is expected to miss the Man United game. Alisson, who's one of Liverpool's most important players, as crap as he was versus Man City, has picked up a hamstring injury and he's not expected back till Christmas time, which means that he will likely be out of Man United versus Liverpool, which will be a big boost for us because Liverpool are a little bit shaky without Alisson as well. So that not probably need Van Dijk and Mo Salah and Szoboszlai and Gravenberch and Nunez and Gakpo and every single other Liverpool player to get injured to stand a chance. But I think that is not that I want a player to get injured, but if it's a player getting injured for a couple of weeks and it means that they don't play against United, I'm all for it. I mean, any injury that's longer than 3 weeks, never want to see that happen to a player. But that is a bit of a boost for United, the Alisson injury coming in there as well. 76 likes, people. Let's get 100 likes as well. We need to add in more players like Mainoo, that Fofana and Amadou Onana to sort of solidify the midfield. Mainoo can't play all the games United has. 100%. We need to add someone like that in. But let's dive back into the news. Let's dive back into some of the stories going about people because we've got lots of interesting information, news, and stories to get through. So let's talk about Ten Hag. For me, Rashford might need to be dropped. I think he was dreadful, even though he got the goal. But I know how good Rashford can be when he's good, but he's just been bad for so long. I think McTominay needs to step up because, yes, he's got a few goals, but when he's not getting goals, he does nothing. Anthony needs to improve a lot. I think Lindelof needs to stop being scared of defending. And I think Casemiro has competition with Mainoo now. However, I'd like to see them together. And I think Eriksen is very good when he comes off the bench to a game where Man United have got lots of possession. He can control a game. But Eriksen, and it's not really his fault, but in those games where he has to play at high intensity, he needs to step up. So I think that's what we want to see. We want to see Ten Hag be ruthless, drop some players, and actually some other Manchester United players step up. But we have got a bit of news and information coming out about a Mason Greenwood return. There is a break clause in his January contract as well. And there's a lot of Premier League clubs looking at Greenwood ahead of next summer, apparently, as well. And there's a few rumours that United are going to activate the break clause in Greenwood's January contract, but that's absolute BS. That's not going to happen. I know that's not going to happen. But a Greenwood return in the summer, you can't 100% rule out, which is what we're going to get into here. It was said Man United, Ratcliffe and Force shot Greenwood U-turn, mooted as reports reveal expected outcome. Man United apparently are reportedly very happy that Mason Greenwood is starting to find his feet in Getafe. He's learning to sort of grow there and improved. And Man United have not ruled out a return. Man United need a right winger and were not being linked with any because they see Greenwood as a cheap alternative. And Arnold made a weird statement when Greenwood left where he basically didn't confirm it's the end for Greenwood. They're saying, he was saying, he could come back. It might not be the end. It's just the end of him for now. And there's reports coming out that Man United are hoping that this Getafe move will clean up his image. United are sort of looking at the Getafe move saying if he's bad, we know it's not worth bringing him back. If he's good, we can sell him. It'll be easier to sell him. But Man United also thinking if he's good and he starts to get a better image online, United thinking about bringing him back. And I know that from people. I know that from semi-reliable people that Man United are really happy that Greenwood's back posting on social media and getting positive comments in the response. Man United care about the social media impact. And the reason Greenwood never returned, because Arnold decided that Mason Greenwood was going to return for United. Richard Arnold decided Mason Greenwood was going to return for United. They'd known that for a month. Greenwood had known that for the month. There was this big return plan for Mason Greenwood in place. And then there was this social media outrage. And what Man United are thinking about, and all they're thinking about is, if Greenwood's good, they want to bring him back, but they care about social media. And right now, Greenwood's posting on social media, getting quite good responses, particularly from Greenwood FC and the Getafe fans. And United reportedly, and from people I'd spoke to, are happy about that, because United think, well, if Greenwood can post on social media and he gets all these positive responses and reviews, and if people are backing Greenwood, this and that, United think, oh, maybe we can bring him back. Oh, maybe we can do this for Greenwood. Oh, maybe we can do that for Greenwood, because it's about social media. Social media is what stopped him coming back to United because of the outrage. Arnold decided he was coming back. So United in the summer are thinking, well, if Greenwood can post on social media and he's not getting too much stick, and he's had a good season at Getafe, and we need a right winger, don't put it past United to bring him back, because they decided to bring him back once and they haven't ruled him out again. I think the safe option would be to sell him. I think that would be the safe option. But just because we've got new ownership doesn't mean we're a different club. I wouldn't be surprised if Greenwood came back as well. I assume the worry would be if he ends back in the Premier League, bagging goals elsewhere. Yeah, I think if I'm United, you hope he has a really good season at Getafe, and then you can sell him to a big club in Spain or something. There are rumours that Real Madrid are looking at Greenwood, but I think it's just because people just put his name because he gets clicks. Greenwood's got this big fan base who would prefer Greenwood to Man United. I know certain people told me they weren't going to support Man United anymore when Greenwood went out on loan. Madness. And I think that people were using Greenwood's name for clicks there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I think we'll know come summer, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of Mason Greenwood PR ahead of the summer as United sort of prepare a little bit of a strategy to bring him back as well. Any news start on Højlund starting Wednesday? We'll get into the Galatasaray game and preview in a second as well. But I think Man United's biggest fear is that Greenwood goes to arrive and start scoring. Now, what did the Athletic say on Greenwood? The Athletic said, although Mason Greenwood is considered shy and even introverted by some, he's gradually catching on to the jokes of the Spanish and Argentinian teammates. Getafe wanted him to take Spanish lessons, so he has a teacher for that. So he's obviously been learning Spanish, la-di-la. I mean, the thing about it is most people in Spain speak quite good English, I find. So he'd probably been chatting to a few people. It was said Getafe plan to discuss Greenwood's future with Man United in April. A source at Getafe says they will look at continuing Greenwood's career in Spain if his form continues. On a personal level, Greenwood is happy in Madrid with his partner and daughter, as well as with the weather, food and house they have. I have to say, Man United are paying for his house, by the way. Man United are paying for his Spanish lessons, and he gets to have Spanish weather. Just saying. There's been relatively little media pressure, which I want to come back to. And it was said that Getafe point out Greenwood returned to posting on the social networks, which was something unthinkable when he first arrived. And Man United are really happy that Greenwood's posting on social media. That's what I've heard from people. But the interesting thing is, Greenwood doesn't have media pressure at Getafe. Getafe is a small club. Getafe is a Bournemouth of La Liga. No offense, Getafe fans. It's a small club. And I'm going to say this. The media pressure at United is like the media pressure nowhere else. The media pressure at United is 5 times the media pressure at Chelsea. And Chelsea's a big club. It's double the media pressure at Arsenal. It's double the media pressure at Liverpool. When you're in the Premier League and a top 6 club, there's a lot of media pressure. But the media pressure at United is another level. And Greenwood is fine at Getafe. He doesn't have that media pressure. He is out of the spotlight, yeah? Greenwood comes back to United. I'm saying this as a fact. The media pressure, the spotlight on him, it's different than any other club. And I think that's why some players can't handle it at United. And obviously he could handle it before the situation went down. But I think what Greenwood has in Getafe is very little media pressure to get back to confidence. At United, you have one bad game, you are slaughtered. You are absolutely slaughtered. The media pressure at United, and a lot of people don't realise this, is you go to Arsenal, you've got media pressure. You go to United, another level of media pressure. And I use Andre Onana as an example of this. Andre Onana comes to United. He's been brilliant. But he had 2 games where he made a mistake. That's all they want to talk about. They wrote him off after 3-4 games. He was completely written off after 3-4 games. Andre Onana slaughtered. There was a whole week's piece of TalkSport, Sky Sports going in on his mistakes. Slaughtered. The media pressure at United is something that you don't get at other clubs. And I think a lot of people forget that as well. Contractually, the club has left the door open, unfortunately. Yeah, anything could happen. Anything could happen as well. Let's go for 300 likes, people, as well. I do not believe a family man like Jim Ratcliffe would allow Greenwood back. He's a businessman, though. I don't know if he's coming back or not. I think if he's in good form and we start getting a lot of Mason Greenwood PR come April, when that Man United will be having conversations with Getafe, that's what that means he could return. But talking about a less disgraced academy youngster, talking about the best academy player at United right now. Actually, would it be gone, actually? would have been Mainoo. So I'm talking about the brightest talent coming through at Manchester United right now, Kobbie Mainoo. Let's talk about a more positive note, because there's a lot of interesting information that's come out of Mainoo that I want to get into as well. That's been the case at United for many years. The pressure at our club has crumbled many signings exactly as well. 100%. I think the pressure at United is something massive as well. But I want to get into the Mainoo news. I want to get into these ahead of Galatasaray game. And also I want to get into some transfer news. We've got a few different stories going about. So it was said on Mainoo by the Daily Star, it said Gareth Southgate will target a Man United starter, Kobbie Mainoo, in a bid to keep him out of the clutches of Ghana. Southgate is desperate for him to pledge his international future to England. Sources close to the England national team's HQ in Burton are confident Mainoo's intention is to remain on the England pathway, with the player providing no reason for the FA to fear he would consider playing for Ghana long term. Mainoo has impressed coaches at England training facility, not only with his ability, but his work ethic as well. Mainoo was described as being super professional, focused, and not a moment's bother by those who have worked with him at St George's, with many believing he is worthy of being fast-tracked through the system into the under-21s. And this was said by Sammy Motbell. It's been said by multiple good and reliable sources that, Mainoo has obviously had a good reputation at England. He got fast-tracked into the under-21s. He's highly rated by those at England, and that Gareth Southgate actually has plans to incorporate Mainoo. And I think this is believable. Because if you've got to think about it, Jordan Henderson's getting on the the England squad. I look at England, okay, and I don't like Southgate. I don't watch England unless it's the Euros or the World Cup. I really don't like watching England. But England are in a position where you've got Declan Rice and you've got Jude Bellingham. Declan Rice is world class. People disagree with me when I say that. Declan Rice is a world class player, and I've rated Declan Rice highly. I think he's a fantastic player. Jude Bellingham, do I even need to tell you Jude Bellingham's absolutely brilliant? Because we all know that. But Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham are two absolutely brilliant players. But that's two players in a three-man midfield. Foden doesn't really give the balance, doesn't work under Southgate, is more of a winger. James Maddison doesn't really give the balance because Jude Bellingham's excelling more in that 10 role, but he can play box-to-box. What England need is they've got Rice, who can play as a box-to-box or a DM, and they've got Bellingham that can play as a box-to-box or a 10, but is looking better in the 10 role. They need someone to go with Rice in the pivot. There's Jordan Henderson, he's playing in Saudi, he's washed. There's Calvin Phillips, who started 4 games for Man City in the last 2 years, absolutely washed. There's Conor Gallagher, decent player there, having a good season for Chelsea, but is he all that? I don't know. Maybe one of the best options England have. There's James Ward-Prowse, who's been fantastic for West Ham, and there's Sean Longstaff that can't even get an England call-up. Right now, Sean Longstaff and James Ward-Prowse would be my 2 options to get in there. But that's what England have. But none of them are like, oh, that's perfect. But if you look at Mainoo and Mainoo's potential, and then a midfield that would complement Bellingham and Declan Rice, Mainoo is that guy. Because while Sean Longstaff and James Ward-Prowse having very good seasons, you look at Mainoo's ceiling compared to those 2 players, and Mainoo's technical ability, and Mainoo's versatility, and you think, this guy's 18. This guy's very mature. He would be big for England. But under Southgate, it'll probably be crap. Under Southgate, it will probably be boring. But there's definitely a future there as well. We have a buyback clause in Ghana. I don't think Ghana was particularly impressive for Everton yesterday. He kept shooting long. I think he had good moments, and then he just became a bit irrational towards the end. I thought Ghana had a good first half as well. Rice, Bellingham, Mainoo and Ghana, that could be England's future midfield. Yeah, I think there's definitely an option there for Ghana. He has had a decent season with Everton as well. When there's talent, there can't beat the hunger and work rate often get from the youth. Yeah, I think, and Sir Alex Ferguson said something once. It was a quote, and it was something like, hard work. It was something about hard work can beat talent in the end, or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but you've got the talent in Kobbie Mainoo, but he's got the work rate as well, and that is the recipe to success. Mainoo looks special, but ideally he isn't thrown into the England setup anytime soon. Long time for that. I agree. I remember when Greenwood, like 2-3 years ago, wasn't picked for the Euros, but I was kind of celebrating that being a good thing because it was so early to throw him in there, and probably never going to play for England again. But I think it's always, I'm not bothered if Mainoo isn't picked for England, because it gives him more time with United to stay fit as well. But yeah. I think Mainoo could become world-class. He definitely has world-class potential. Shall we dive back into the story? So obviously, England sort of have plans about Kobbie Mainoo, and luckily no international break for multiple months. But definitely keep an eye around February time for a Mainoo call-up. But it was said it was a lot of people have been very praiseful of Kobbie Mainoo for many reasons. You know, he deserves a lot of praise, and a lot of you've got your Gary Nevilles, you've got your Ten Hag praising him, you've got your Roy Keanes. Everyone is praising Kobbie Mainoo because rightly so, he's been absolutely fantastic. So I want to get into a few things said on Kobbie Mainoo. Bruno says I always talk about Kobbie. I think he's a special player. For his age, he has too much quality. He was also compared to Cesc Fabregas. If you're good enough, you're old enough. Cesc Fabregas came into Arsenal, 17, 18 years of age, was really good and didn't look a bit out of place for a 17-year-old. Kobbie Mainoo's got that aura about him, and I hate that word. And then Gary Neville said on Mainoo, the biggest compliment I can pay him is, it hurts to say it, but he looked like a Man City player. I thought that was someone that Pep Guardiola would look at and want in his midfield. And Roy Keane is pretty brutal when he wants to be. He said he was outstanding. He looked like a Man United player today. Nice and brave, a lot of courage. And what the pundits were saying about Mainoo was they're saying he looked like a 27-year-old, not an 18-year-old. He looked like the most mature player on the pitch, because when the players were giving the ball away, being erratic, being silly, when we were losing control of that game in the second half of the first half, Mainoo was there composed, keeping the ball, doing good stuff on the ball, which the rest of our team did not do. So I think Mainoo is an absolutely quality player. But I do want to dive into a little bit of transfer news. I do want to dive into some other news. Any news on Amad's return? Rashford was just awful again yesterday. So Amad Diallo is back training on grass. Man United, because of Amad's injury record, don't want to take too many risks with Amad and want to make sure he's properly ready. There is the feeling that Amad is a couple of weeks away. But I think Man United might throw him into some youth games like they did with Kobbie Mainoo when he first came back, because Amad's been out for even longer than Mainoo. And there's actually reports that Amad might just go back to Sunderland on loan because he's not played in so long, and United will want to get the guy back to playing and stuff because he's had a big injury. I feel so sorry for Amad Diallo because he had a really good loan at Sunderland, got injured, then was really good again at Sunderland, almost helped Sunderland get promoted, and then he got injured again. But I think Amad Diallo, his return is a few weeks away, but I don't know if he'll play. Pellistri's starting to get more minutes. I've noticed that. He's bringing Pellistri on a bit more here and there. Pellistri's been good for Uruguay, and you can see that he doesn't. Ten Hag's not Pellistri's biggest fan, I think, but we're seeing that Pellistri's getting a few more minutes as well. Sloppy passing will cost United, and that's the one thing Mainoo doesn't do. He can actually pass the ball forward, keep the ball, and what Mainoo does, and I know I've been bigging up Mainoo, and I did a whole video on Mainoo that you should check out that I posted this morning, but Mainoo uses his body so well. I can't explain how well Kobbie Mainoo uses his body. He uses his body. He uses his shoulders, so he is press resistant. He can keep the ball well. He has ability to move his body, scan around and play out when he's in tight positions, run between the lines, receive the ball, turn on the ball, get around the player, pass the ball forward. I've been crying out for Man United players to do that for so long, and Kobbie Mainoo does that. He absolutely does that, and that's what's fantastic as well. This time is time to try and look at other right-wing options. Pellistri's look good again. For me, Pellistri on the right, Garnacho on the left, because I like Rashford. I'm a big fan of Rashford, and it wound me up that we won 3-0, and certain accounts were posting comps about how bad Rashford was. Yes, Rashford was bad yesterday, but we win 3-0. Let's celebrate the 3-0 win. Let's stop going in about how bad Rashford was, because I don't like that. We won 3-0. Let's stop making fail comps about our own player. Hey, it really winds me up when our own fans post fail comps of our players. Rashford was bad yesterday. Rashford needs to be dropped. He's not in good form. I want Pellistri and Garnacho on the wing. But why? But I like Rashford. I don't think he's as crap as people make out. I just think he's out of form. And unfortunately, he's a purple patch player. Rashford is either dropping 8 and 9s out of 10s or 1 out of 10s. And he's dropping 1 out of 10s at the moment. He's bad. But it really winds me up when Man United fans will post fail comps of their own player. It just does. I just think he's rubbish at the moment. I'm not gonna. But let's not knock his confidence. He's got the media pressure at United already. Let's just hope he comes back to his best, because we know there's a good player there as well. It's just an annoying one as well. If he has one bad game, Alice, you know what our fan base is like. Yeah, I mean, look, he's had multiple bad games, but Kobbie Mainoo could have a bad game next week, and I know half of our fan base will be bloody turning on him as well. Mainoo reminds me of Zidane in how he seemed to play yesterday at 1/2 speed compared to the other players around him. Yeah, 100%. That's not something I picked up on, but I get what you mean. As Diego says, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe as well. I think Rashford would benefit from coming on as a sub. Yeah, I generally think if Rashford had a few performances coming on as a sub against tired legs, where he can play on the left-hand side with Luke Shaw's link up, and his pace is more effective and he could get a couple goals in. Because the thing about Rashford, he's a confidence player. I guarantee you, if Rashford had 3 appearances off the bench and he scored in all 3 of those appearances, the next 5 starts, he'll be good again. And that's what I actually completely agree with that. It's crazy. let's dive into the transfer news quickly. Nothing particularly interesting, but I want to just quickly cover this story, get this out of the way before I get into the next few stories. But it was said that United are planning to recall Charlie McNeil from his loan at Stevenage in the January transfer window due to lack of game time there. Absolutely perfect. McNeil, great player, wrong loan. Something that we do a lot. Great players, wrong loans. Bring McNeil back in. It was also said that Man United have reportedly designated Mark Gahey as their number one target for the January window. According to Football Insider, indicates a senior source at Old Trafford has revealed the club are prioritising a move for Crystal Palace defender whose sinister solution to the defensive crisis Eric Ten Hag is being confronted with. Mark Gahey, very, very good player, very special player. Palace have the joint best defensive record in the league in terms of clean sheets this season. I actually think Anderson has been their best centre-back of the two. I'm happy with Mark Gahey, but I'm definitely a Todibo girl. Todibo, Antonio Silva, I'm a bigger fan of them, but wouldn't complain at Mark Gahey, but he could have that Premier League tax like we saw with Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, which we've got to be careful of. I think Todibo, £38 million, that's a bit of me, but I'm not against Mark Gahey as well. A good player and a good season as well. Since Rashford signed his big contract with that money, he lost his ability and hunger to play, and it does feel like that, doesn't it? It does feel like that as well. I like Gahey, but I'd rather go for someone a bit taller next to Leacher. Yeah, and I think that, again, is another good point there as well. I think we need someone a bit more physical as well. And that's the thing as well. I think Todibo's better on the ball. I'm not opposed to Gahey, but I think my options would be Todibo and Antonio Silva. If we had £50 million in January, who are you buying? Because Todibo's about 40 million. Who are you buying? Interesting stories just come out. You know what? I wouldn't even write this off. Guys, you'll never guess. And this is a good source. You'd never guess who Man United have just inquired. Just come out now. You'll never guess who Man United have inquired about. You know how Man United like to do their short-term deals? You know how Man United like to go for underperforming players and try and get them on the cheap or a loan in January? Man United have just inquired for Timo Werner, apparently. And this is a decent source. This is the most Man United thing ever. Timo Werner is on Man United's list for the January transfer window. United have already inquired about the striker, but there's no offer or negotiations yet. I was actually a big Timo Werner fan. I was really mad when he went to Chelsea. I thought, this guy would have been good for United. But he flopped at Chelsea. He absolutely flopped at Chelsea. Whereas at Leipzig, he had 28 goals in 34 games. He got 36 goal contributions in 34 games in the Bundesliga. Went over to Chelsea, got 9 goals, 3 assists. Then this season, he's barely played, can't get in the team. I used to be a big fan of Timo Werner. I really used to be a big fan of Timo Werner, but it's just like, he's so United. Oh, let's do a short-term solution. No. Can we look at some long-term solutions? Can we look at some actual long-term solutions? Stop this Vegas crap. Stop the Zagallo crap. I've always liked Timo Werner, but he's washed. He's absolutely washed at the moment. It's the most Man United thing. It is look, Taremi's a better player and he's cheap. But Man United will go for Timo Werner because they'll reckon they can get him on loan. Because remember, in January, we're loan move FC. We're loan move FC when it comes to January. That's what we are. So I always think, please no. But I wouldn't write Man United off doing this. It's a good source as well. I wouldn't write us off doing that as well. He could be good at us because we play in the transition and he's a pace merchant. But Bundesliga attackers, we have to be wary 100%. Very few Bundesliga players have gone to the Premier League and been like that. Look at Kane. Now, obviously, Kane is playing for the best team in the Bundesliga and Kane got unbelievable numbers at Spurs. But Kane was the best player in the Premier League and he'll probably break the Bundesliga record this season. Do you know what I mean? Because it just shows how easy the Bundesliga is. For me, it's just so Man United as well. I used to be a big fan of him. I used to really want United to sign this guy, but he went back to Leipzig. He can't even get a start for Leipzig. Should Man United be signing a player that can't get a start for Leipzig? No. Just pay the money for Leonardo. That's a typical cool Glazer move. I agree. Alice, people really need to calm down. We were playing Everton, not prime Real Madrid. One good game against poor opposition and fans act like our players world class. If you watched the beginning of the video, I said the first half was not good enough. It was not convincing, and I don't think we'll beat Newcastle. I've said that again. We've not won convincingly, but we've got the result, and I was just trying to be positive. as well. Kane's got 18 goals so far. He's on track to beat the record as well. But Werner's got 2 goals this season in the Bundesliga. He can't even start for Leipzig. It's got Man United written all over it. It really does. It'll be interesting to see what people say. Johnny Evans, interesting news, has just got an MBE for his services to Northern Ireland. You know what? You can't dislike Johnny Evans. The fact that we signed Johnny Evans was a bit of a joke when we should have brought someone like Todabo. But I've never disliked Johnny Evans. He's always been a good guy, a good professional. He's always been good on the ball. I've always been a big fan of Johnny Evans. And I think for the dressing room, he's a good guy to have there, but we should have been getting Todabo instead of Johnny Evans. But fair play to Johnny Evans, MBE there. Timo Werner to Man United is linked everywhere as well. Everyone's just laughing at Timo Werner to United. Apparently, Chelsea are signing another DM. Chelsea have got Lavia, Casado, Enzo, Uga, whatever he's called. And apparently they want to sign that Gabriel Mascherano guy as well. Yeah, I think... I don't know what happened with Timo Werner, but it is a decent source. It is a decent source of information as well. Werner was promising at one point, but we know he can't do it in the Premier League exactly. Maybe they'll get Werner until the summer as the strikers. They're not when it's available and help Hoyden. I think that's the only positive I can take from it. But it's just I'm so fed up with short-term deals. Can we just spend 60 million on a striker in January? Can we just get Ivan Toney in? But we won't do that. And it just annoys me. We should have kept Evans back then. In his prime, he was better than a lot of our centre-backs. He was. Even bloody Smalling was better than a lot of our centre-backs. Smalling left United and he was better than Maguire that first season as well. I feel like, yeah, Man United and transfers, we just make so many mistakes. I forgot it's Wolves Fulham tonight on Monday Night Football, isn't it? Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to watch Wolves Fulham, although my stepdad's a Wolves fan. So maybe I'll have it on in the background as I cook some dinner or something. But couldn't care about Wolves Fulham tonight if I'm being honest. Sorry Wolves. But you know what? There were so many good games on Saturday. They should have made one of them on the Friday because do you know what? Saturday was such a good day for football because I got to watch Newcastle Chelsea, Arsenal Brentford, which was a crap game, and City Liverpool. It was so nice, and maybe that's just me, to come back from that international break and have 2 good games of football on. That was such a nice feeling as well. Ivan Toney could cost 100 million. I don't think Ivan Toney will be anywhere near that much just because of everything that went on as well. I don't think Brentford are in a position where they can ask for 100 million when he's not played in so long. There's actually reports that he might just come into Brentford and move in the summer, but apparently Ostenhem could be available in January, and Chelsea and Arsenal fans are fighting over who's going to sign Ostenhem. That is the beef for Twitter right now as well. Werner's a Ratcliffe signing. I don't know if it's a Ratcliffe signing. I think it's a Glazer signing. Ratcliffe wants Todabo. Ratcliffe wants Todabo, I tell you that. Louis van Gaal cleared out a lot of players we could have used for another couple of seasons, I agree. I get why Louis van Gaal did do that big clear out because I feel like we were kind of washed because Ferguson got every last inch out of some of those players, like particularly the older players. And I feel like we were kind of washed when Ferguson left because our squad was quite ageing. But I think there was players like Johnny Evans that obviously weren't old that, yeah, we could have kept around in terms of that clear out as well. Anyway, people, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I am going to wrap up the live stream here. There will be a video out tomorrow morning. Depending on the news, it could be out at 8 a.m. It could be out at 11, 12 a.m., 12 o'clock. So make sure you subscribe for that with the post notification bell on. Please do smash the likes on your way out. Help get the video reach out there. Share the video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.